Good morning. It finally stopped raining on this beautiful Sunday. So the boys and I are outside. We're going to pick a bunch of red clover today to make some red clover jelly. It's very similar to the honeysuckle recipe that we shared with you guys last year. It's super delicious and super easy to make. So I'll show you guys how to do it. So for this recipe, you do definitely want to use the red clover, even though it's actually purple in color, because this recipe is going to yield a beautiful bright purple jelly. So that's why you definitely want to use the red clover. Now, when you're picking the clover, you just pop the top off, but sometimes you're going to get some leaves and some stems. You actually don't want that in your jelly. That can make it taste bitter. So we're going to take that off. And so this right here is exactly what you want. So we're going to get 4 cups of that. Now, once you pick a couple of them, it's pretty easy to actually just pull the flower off and none of the stems or leaves. See, just like that. So here is the clover blossoms. I mean, how beautiful is this? It's absolutely lovely. And this right here is the recipe. It's really simple and really easy. If you've canned before, especially if you've made jelly, you could probably just screenshot this and easily figure it out. But if not, I will go through the recipe now on the directions and I will show you guys how to make it. Okay, so I am going to deviate from the recipe a little bit. If you look at the directions that I just gave you on the recipe, you'll see that it says to rinse these first. My rationale with that is that when you rinse them, you get a lot of the nectar out of the plant that goes down the drain. So I've skipped that step altogether. If it weirds you out that there might be bugs in this, you can still rinse them, it's fine. I used to rinse all of my honeysuckle and clover when I made jelly, but I don't do that anymore. This is gonna be cooked and boiled, and then you're gonna strain everything out. So even if there are bugs in this, for one, they're getting fully cooked, and for two, they're getting strained out before you turn the tea into the jelly. So that's my rationale there. Let's get started. Now, I do have a little bit more than 4 cups of clover. The recipe calls for 4 cups, but the boys were helping me pick it, and we ended up just picking more than 4 cups because we weren't paying attention, and I don't want to waste any of it. If you have extra, just put it in there. It's only going to make it more colorful and put more nectar into your jelly. Okay, so here all I'm doing is adding my 4 cups of clover blossoms to my pot, and then I'm going to cover that with 4.5 cups of water. Now I got the burner on. I'm gonna bring this to a boil, and then I'm gonna let it boil rapidly for 1 minute, and then we'll shut it off. And then you actually just let it steep either for 8 hours or overnight. And we're boiling, so I'm gonna let this boil for 1 full minute. Okay, burner is off, so now all we're gonna do is cover this, pull it off the hot burner, and we're gonna let this thing steep overnight. This does vary a little bit from honeysuckle jelly. To make the tea for honeysuckle jelly, you're only gonna let it steep for 2 hours. That's because with the honeysuckle jelly, you're really just trying to get the nectar from the honeysuckle into the tea. And this one, we're also trying to get the color moved over. We want that deep purple color into the tea to make a really beautiful purple colored jelly. So that's why this one needs to steep for either 8 hours or overnight, which I'm just gonna do overnight. So we will check back in the morning. Okay, so it's the next morning. Take the lid off. You can tell that the clover is no longer that beautiful red purple color. All of the color has soaked into the tea. So now we're gonna strain this in some cheesecloth and get ready to make the jelly. So here I've got my mesh colander, and I just put a cheesecloth inside of it. I did attach it here with a rubber band because it kept falling down into the bowl. And this here is exactly why I use a cheesecloth. It allows you to really grip tight and squeeze all the extra fluid out. If I were to use a paper towel or a coffee filter, I wouldn't be able to do this because it would rip. So I get all that fluid out. And then I save that giant ball of clover blossoms to feed to my chickens. So now I'm just getting everything ready to go. I got my glass jars in the oven sterilizing. Over here on the counter, I got my big stock pot boiling so that we're ready to can as soon as we're done. I've got my pot ready to make the jelly in, and then of course here's our beautiful clover tea. And then over here, if you have a box of Sure-Gel, that's perfect, you can use that. I do not, so I'm just gonna measure out 1.75 ounces of the fruit pectin here, because that's what Sure-Gel is, and 1 box of Sure-Gel is 1.75 ounces. So I'll measure that out and weigh it. I'll get my lemon juice ready, and then I will get my sugar ready. We'll make it and we'll can it. Now I'm adding the Clover tea liquid and the Sure gel and the lemon juice to the pot. Ooh, it smells so good. So we're here at a boil. I'm gonna let this boil for 1 minute, and then I'm gonna add in my sugar to this, and then I'll bring it back to a boil again, and then we'll let it boil for a 2nd minute, and then it's done and ready to put into our cans. It's been boiling for a minute with the sugar in it, so let's pull it off, get our jars out, and let's fill them. And here you'll see me dipping each lid into the boiling water for a couple of seconds before I put it on the jars, and that's just to sterilize it. There they are. I got my 6 jars in there. They're boiling. We're gonna let it boil up for 5 minutes, then we'll pull them out and it's done. And it's done. Look at how beautiful that jelly turned out. It's got a really nice translucent, dark reddish purple color. I love it. It's so pretty and so delicious.